So I've had a lot of questions about my funded trading plan and how I go ahead and pass futures prop firms very fast, because if you follow me on Instagram, you will know that I've been passing a lot of accounts recently, and I pass them usually within about 2 to 3 days. Now, the one that I use and the futures prop firm that I do personally use is Lucid Trading, because Lucid Trading for me is the best one. There's other firms such as My Funded Futures and Traderfy and things like that, which are very similar, and which I will be branching out to more once I get max allocation with Lucid. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to speak through and go through how I pass these fast and how I manage the accounts once I'm funded, essentially. So obviously we're going with Lucid Trading, right? So the account that I do get is the 50K. So the 50K Flex account is the one that I personally go for. It's around $91, and they've usually got a discount code, and it's usually sort of on the main homepage of Lucid. So you can get it for around $91, and when you convert it into pounds, it works out at around 60 to 70 pounds for me in GBP. So very cheap, and the maximum payout that I go for is the $2,000 payout. So once you convert the $2,000 into GBP and you take Lucid's 10% obviously profit share, it works out around £1,300. So if you work out the return on investment on that, it's very good. Now, as you can see, the profit target for this account is $3,000. The drawdown we've got on this account is $2,000. So the way I go about passing these accounts very fast is I use all of my drawdown on one single trade. What this allows me to do is it allows me to go for a 1 to 0.75 trade, so risk to reward. So I risk 1 to get 0.75, and this is an inverse trade, which allows us to put the probabilities in our favor from the get-go. And if you obviously go ahead and just blindly trade this, you will be able to sort of pass accounts very often, just for the simple fact is that the risk to reward is inverse. Now keep that in mind. Obviously, it's if you do obviously lose a trade, you lose the account, and that's 60 to 70 pounds gone basically. So if you're doing a 1 to 0.75 risk to reward, the likelihood of you winning 2 trades in a row is very high. And this is how I personally go ahead and pass the accounts fast, because you need to be aggressive when it comes to trading prop firms. If you're obviously spending a lot of time on the challenges and you're trading these like a personal account, there's no way that you're going to get funded and make money within a sufficient amount of time. You'll just be going ahead and going through sort of like your equity curve will look something like this, right? It'll go up, it'll come back down, go into drawdown, come back up. And so what you will do is spend a lot of time sort of in the challenge phase, and you won't actually be making money. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to make money. I'm not here to be stuck in challenges and, just messing around essentially. So I do a 1 to 0.75. I win 2 of these, so times 2, and then that's your challenge passed. So you'll then pass the challenge if you win 2 1 to 0.75 risk to reward trades in a row, which is very likely. It's, I don't know, it's probably around 70% likelihood that you're going to hit 2 trades in a row, and that's if you are doing random trades on the chart. If you've got a good entry model and you've got a good strategy to pair with this, your odds could go up to 80, 85% maybe. So essentially, this is what we're looking for when we are going and we're in the challenge phase. So 1 to 0.75 trades, that's your challenge passed, and then you are then onto the funded stage. So once we are on funded, on Lucid specifically, if we just go ahead here and see the funded rules, right? So the max loss limit is $2,000. So we've got a max loss limit of $2,000 still. And we've got a daily loss limit, which has now gone. The consistency is now gone. The max size of contracts is 4 minis or 40 micros. And then what we need is 5 profitable days. So we need 5 profitable days, right? And what you can do is you can still trade this aggressive, or you can then drop your risk once you're funded to obviously try and keep the account for longer. So what I personally do is I will sort of split accounts into different risk parameters. So on some accounts, I will go high risk, and on some accounts, I will drop my risk. So if I'm still doing high risk, this is how I would do it, right? So I would still have my $2,000 of drawdown, And then on sort of the first trade, so first trade, I'm going to target with a $2,000 stop loss. I'm going to target around $3,400. What this will allow us to do then for the rest of the trading days, so day 2 to 5, is so 2 to 5. What you would then do is you would risk, you can drop the risk if you want, but what I personally do if I'm going high risk, I will still risk the $2,000 and I will then go for $200 for sort of day 2 to 5. This gives me sort of just over $4,000, so I would have $4,000. I can then take 50% of this, which is a $2,000 payout, which will then equate to around sort of £1,300. So if I paid £60 to £70 for this one account, I've then passed it. Obviously, you will fail quite a lot of them, but you only need one account and one payout to pay for around 20 accounts, failed accounts that is. So as you can see here, the profit that I've made, so £60 for the account, and I've turned it now into £1,300. So that's the high risk way I would do it. And then if you want to go ahead and go low risk, essentially what I would do is, obviously you've got $2,000 worth of drawdown. What I would do is I would risk $500, so $500, and this means you've got times 4 losses before you blow the account. Now obviously it's still quite high risk, but it's enough that you're risking to be able to make sufficient profit to get towards the payout stage. So $500 times 4 losses, you lose the account essentially. And obviously if you then obviously trade it, you then do a 1 to 2. You need to win sort of 4 trades to get to that $4,000. So $4,000 profit target if you want a maximum payout. If you just want to take the minimum payout, you can go ahead and trade it to pretty much whatever you like. So obviously you've got $500 here times 4 losses. Do a 1 to 2 risk to reward, or you can also even do a 1 to 1 and just build it up slowly that way. Essentially, if you're going to do it this way, what I would do and what I personally do if I go low risk, I will risk $500 and I will go for a 1 to 2. And then let's just say that I take a loss on that one account. So let's just say I've got multiple accounts on rotation here, and I've got the maximum amount of accounts that I can get with Lucid, which is 5. I would go, so account 1, loss. I would then move to account 2, potentially take a win. Move to account 3, potentially take a loss. 4, loss. And then what I would do is I would just sort of rotate through the accounts like this, and then I would go back to account 1, go to account 2, and I would work through it like that essentially and try and build it up to a point where I'm eligible for a payout, and then I would take a payout on those accounts and then reinvest. But the most efficient way to do it and the most probable way to do it according to mathematics is to basically just risk all of your drawdown and then go for that $3,400 on the first trade, and then you can then just pretty much go for $200 for the other 4 days. So yeah, the other 4 days you can do sort of $200. That gets you to that $4,000. You can then take the maximum payout, reinvest it, spend a little bit, do whatever you want, and that's basically how I trade futures prop firms. Obviously the high risk method will not be for everyone. You will need some starting capital to be able to trade like that, because you will lose a lot of accounts, but you will also pass a lot of accounts as well. So if you obviously do this and then you go and you've passed 4 or 5 accounts and then you want to drop the risk, that's perfectly fine, and then you can start building that up then very, very slowly. But this is how I do it, guys. This is how I pass them very, very fast. This is how I get to payouts very fast. And obviously this only applies to futures prop firms such as Lucid, TraderFi, MyFunded Futures, and any sort of futures prop firm which has end of day trailing drawdown. If you want obviously risk parameters for a Forex one, I will do a video on Forex because it's slightly different. Obviously, usually you've got sort of 8% and 5% on phase 1 and 2. And then once you get to the funded stage on Forex, it's very, very easy then to just take payouts every sort of bi-weekly, like I've been doing with funded pips for quite some time now. So yeah, if you did enjoy the video, guys, if you're going to try this, let me know in the comments. If you want, to ask me any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments or contact me on Instagram. And without further ado, I will see you in the next one.